Welcome to the Lancashire Lad podcast. Welcome to the Lancashire Lad podcast and another episode of Balls to It. Over the last couple of weeks, we have debated keepers, defenders, midfielders, all Premiership legends that were foreign. We finish off that sequence this week with the final piece of the jigsaw. Who is the greatest Premiership striker to play in the Premier League that is foreign? So we have whittled it down to 5 contenders. Now, before I mentioned them, there were a few that were unlucky to miss out, such as Nicolas Anelka, Fernando Torres, and then 3 that were really unlucky to miss out, which were Dennis Bergkamp, Eric Cantona, and Robin van Persie. That left us with our 5, who are Luis Suarez, Ruud Van Nisteroy, Thierry Henry, Didier Drogba, and Sergio Aguero. So over the next half an hour, we're going to find out what we think is our top 3. Well, what we know is our top 3. So we're going to debate them one at a time, and then at the end, we'll put them into our top 3s. So without further ado, let me welcome onto the show, as usual, Tony Lewis and Craig Stanley. How are you both? Are you okay?
Evening, boys.
Evening. Yes, very good, Stu. Looking forward to tonight.
We're missing Alex tonight, aren't we?
We're missing. Yes, we're missing Alex tonight. He's busy once again at work, but it's
he's been on this podcast more times than you've been to Adfield.
don't start that, Tony.
Oh my God! Yes, it's a well-known fact. I've only been to Anfield several times, but I can still support them from home by buying shirts, by subscribing. Right, anyway, I didn't mean to bite them, but I did. Right, lads.
It's an amazing tour, Anfield.
Yeah, I tell you what, I can tell you a great story about that. If you've got time at the end, I will tell you a really good story. Okay, so we're going to start off, with it being his last season in the Premier League, we're going to start off with the legend that is Sergio Aguero. So we'll hand straight over to Tony. Tony, what makes Sergio Aguero special, and why is he in our top 5, in your opinion?
Con Aguero, be careful how you've got to say that, because I've called him similar in the past. I just think he's just been an absolute class act, hasn't he? You know, whether it'd be interesting if he stays in the Premier League at the end of the season. You know, Chelsea
I think Barcelona have put an offer in, haven't they?
But because they're minted, aren't they? You know, and I just think, obviously, he'd give me one of the worst days of my life, you know, scoring that last-minute winner. But if you see just that goal that haunts me, how he just takes it, he didn't rush. He lets the defender come. He just, you know, stalls and just absolutely, you know, took his time, even at such a crucial last minute of the game, title decider. His timing is impeccable, strong, scores all kind of goals, apart from Panenka penalties.
What was he doing?
Well, you know, but that's it. That's in the player, isn't it? I think, you know, if you take that out of the player, sometimes you don't get the kind of product that you've got. And I just, you know, even though he's a blue, and I just think he's just been absolutely class, strong, quick, you know, just a great. And I think his stats are self-explanatory. Yeah,
his stats, 182 Premiership goals in 274 games.
That's good.
So I don't know where is he coming up to 3rd in the all-time top goal scoring list? He can't be far off. I should have probably researched it, shouldn't I?
Foreigners, I think there's only Thierry Henry in front of him. I think he's 0.66 goals per game.
Yeah, it's incredible. Craig, tell us about Sergio Aguero.
Yeah, fantastic striker. Great. I know he plays as number 10, but he's a great number 9. So I think I've seen a stat when he played a couple of weeks ago, and it showed you all the goals he scored in the Premier League, and basically more or less the majority. I think he's only scored about 3 or 4, maybe 5 tops outside of the 18-yard box. That sort of shows you the type of striker he was. But once he gets given them chances, he scores in big games. Great player, great link-up play. can drop into the number 10 position, brings other people into play. And also, I think at times when you play the ball into him, he's very strong, backs in well, and then links up the play really well. But his overall main attribute is scoring goals, and he's fantastic talent at that. And you don't really hear much about him, obviously, in his personal life, what he gets up to, but on the pitch, that's obviously where he makes it
You never saw the vendetta that Maradona had against him then, did you?
Yeah. But yeah, as a striker, he's like a typical like English sort of number 9 as he scores in the box. And just, I think any team would have him in world football over the last few years. I think if you could have signed him, you would try and sign Sergio Aguero, guaranteed goals. And just one little disappointment with him, obviously with his injuries and stuff. I just think the amount of goals he did score, maybe if he stayed a little bit more injury free, the amount of goals he could have scored. But yeah, what a fantastic player for Man City, and sort of I know Tony doesn't like me to say this, but how transform the Man City team, how good he actually was. And yeah, fantastic striker, and I think you'd love to play with him.
Yeah, I think the one thing that always stood out for me with Sergio Aguero was a lot of strikers getting that first touch just away from the defender to get a shot off. He was absolutely superb. Well, he still is superb. Just that quick touch before the shot. I thought he was exceptional at that, and obviously still is. It's been a shame that his last season has been, mainly on the injury table and and then on the bench and stuff. But over the years, I mean, he was the one that came to City and practically, turned them from title contenders into winners. Yeah, like Tony said, that probably we're talking about probably the greatest Premiership moment with that winner against QPR. Like you said, strong, quick. His consistency levels were great through the years, and it'll be sad it's a sad loss, a bit like when David Silva left last year. It's a sad loss for the Premier League, but as everything, all good things come to an end. But yeah, for a long period of time, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best strikers in the world. So just a shame that it never worked out for him with Argentina. I don't know what happened there, but obviously that's a discussion for another day. But yeah, as in the Premiership, an absolute legend. So fully deserved to be in the top 5 on our list. So we're going to move on. And this is a player that Tony pushed for in our top 5. We all had our inputs into this top 5, and this was one that Tony wanted to put in. And this is Ruud Van Nisteroy. And he racked up 95 goals in 150 Premiership games. Tony, sorry?
0.63 goals per game.
Wow. Tell us why you pushed for Ruud's presence in this lineup.
Because, as Craig just mentioned with Aguero scoring all but a handful of goals outside the box, or inside the box, should I say. I don't think Ruud scored one outside of there, and that was just him. I know it's all kind of retrospective, but with the last couple of weeks discussions and the wide players and just having that one player in the box, if the ball was going to fall to one player that I've seen at Old Trafford and you need that moment, we just spoke about big moments, I'd have it to him, because I just think he'd bag at least 2 out of 3 chances. And he just lived for goals. I think if you ever hear kind of Gary Neville on Soccer Box speak to like former teammates, they kind of go on about just how ruthless he was. He not necessarily a team player, because he could score and still be happy even if United lost. And I think there was a good kind of understanding, wide men playing, and the ball didn't come in. He was sulking, just a proper centre forward, just a fox. Fox in the box is probably a bad analogy of him, because his touch, putting the ball on a plate for himself, just how he scored goals. They were tap-ins, but they were spectacular tap-ins.
Yeah, it was very selfish, wasn't he, as well? If he got a chance, it wasn't going out wide. It was a shot. So yeah, great to hear. Craig, over to you.
Yeah, a bit like Tony said, a bit like Aguero. Yes.
Are you two ever going to get out of bed with each other or not in one of these episodes?
Yeah, but we just
he brings me a cup of tea every morning.
Yeah, I don't know what your excuse is, mate, but we know our football. And Ruud Van Nisteroy, another top striker.
I think it's because we go to games, Craig.
Yeah, is that what it is? Yeah, support our teams as well, Tony, eh?
Fancy attacking the host. Fancy attacking the host.
It's got warm in your house, isn't it?
No.
But no, yeah, great number 9. Like you said, ruthless in front of goals. He had that nasty side to him. I remember with Martin Keown, that's the sort of image you get of Ruud Van Nistelrooy. Obviously, he missed the penalty, and then Keown sort of celebrates on him, but then he comes back after that. And
I think he scored in the game after they got against Arsenal.
Yeah.
He took another penalty, didn't he?
Yeah, that sort of shows the man he was. Obviously, once he left Man United, he goes to Real Madrid. He was fantastic for Holland as well as a striker. I just think another player, and especially I think at that time when he played with Giggs and Beckham and people like that, he was perfect in there. The amount of chances Man United created, you knew he was guaranteed to score. And also another striker with injuries as well. Sometimes he missed quite a few games for injuries, and you just wish that you could maybe have seen more of Ruud Van Nistelrooy in the Premiership. Yeah.
Well, he signed for us 12 months late, didn't he?
Yeah.
He suffered that terrible United
knee injury.
Fergie really kind of courted him, and I remember seeing the back page of the paper with him just collapse. His knee had just gone on him for PSV, and but to come back from an injury like that and still. He just hit the ground running for United.
And like you said, he out of all the strikers we've picked tonight, is one of them. I think the second who didn't play as many games as everyone else, and like you said, his stats back it up. And another player that if you wanted in the 90th minute a chance to fall to you'd want Ruud Van Nistelrooy on the end of it. And like I said, he was a complete number 9, and great player for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to touch on what Tony's just said then about, obviously, I remember when United were about to sign him and obviously he got the injury. And then, when someone like Alex Ferguson, or Sir Alex Ferguson, waits a full year for a player, then, I was expecting something special. And those first 3 seasons, it was absolutely unbelievable. And I tell you what, he never got credit for that I don't really think is his pace. I remember Arsenal playing Man United and Sol Campbell wasn't slow. And I remember a goal Van Nistelrooy scored where he dropped back to near the halfway line, picked the ball up, and he went past Sol Campbell like he was stood still. I don't know if you remember it, Tony.
Yeah, he had kind of he ran a bit like... Phoebe from Friends. It's like his knees kind of went high. He kind of ran high.
Yeah.
He didn't glide. There was a lot of effort going in with it. Some players just kind of glide, don't they? He
looked like it, loads of effort, Tony, didn't he? He had to, but and also he wasn't the biggest strikers either, was he? Like physically, he was quite
gangly,
scrawny.
He was tall and thin, wasn't he?
Yeah. But he was strong. As soon as Aguero, the ball come into him, you knew he was getting hold of it.
No, absolutely. Like I said, he was one of them players that I'd imagine. I mean, I'm sorry to bring Liverpool up, but I'd imagine players like Alexander Arnold and Andy Robertson would have absolutely adored them balls round to someone like him in the box. It'd have been special to see.
Well, that is just kind of what happened allegedly with him, and that was the issue with him and Ronaldo. That the ball, when Ronaldo started coming to. The ball didn't go in the box because Ronaldo was pretty greedy with it. I mean, he wasn't too, was he? But, I think that became kind of apparent that was an issue with it.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Didier Drogba. 100 goals in 226 games. Tony?
Yeah, Didier dog breath.
That's a bit harsh.
I think that's what Rio did that to him once, didn't he? Rio do that to him once. I mean, he was an handful, wasn't he? And he kind of came over with his persona, and he didn't back down from much. Probably his record's not as good as the first 2 mentioned, but he was more of a all-round player. I think he dropped a lot deeper than Aguero and especially Van Nistelrooy, but he was a beast of a player. I think probably his stats probably don't add up because when he come back to Chelsea for the second spell, he didn't score that many in a period of games, so that probably takes your average down straight away. But I know, whenever he came to Old Trafford, he always caused a lot of havoc off the ball as well. We've alluded to dark arts in the past that, I'm obviously a fan of. And even though it's opposition, he just did everything. He was a powerful centre forward.
Yeah, no, definitely. Craig?
Yeah, I think a complete striker. I could think he could play as a number 9. He could drop in, pace, power, could finish all types of goals inside the box, outside the box. And just the sort of memories I had of him was in the Champions League was it Bayern Munich, where he scores the header.
Yeah.
And then I think he scores the winning penalty as well, or a crucial penalty. And he scored, and he runs off and he does a little knee slide and stuff like that. But another player that that was it. Yeah, I love that one. But yeah, another player that I think when you seen him play, all the players respected him. I think he looked like he was a team player. He was a team player. Everyone loved him. Another one, you never heard anything bad about him, and just I think one of the best strikers. Which obviously that's why he's in our top 5. But one of the best strikers I've seen in the Premier League anyway. That just the way complete. He wasn't just like Van Nisteroy and Aguero. He was a little bit different to them. But what a striker! Free kicks.
Yeah,
he could strike a ball, couldn't he?
Oh,
he was very good.
I think up until this point, he's probably the most complete striker of his all-round game. I actually had the unfortunate watch from my settee because I don't go to games. I actually watched Marseille versus. All right. I watched Marseille versus Liverpool before he signed for Chelsea, and he absolutely tore us to pieces. And we were kind of linked with him for a couple of months, and I was thinking, please come off. And then Chelsea got him. But I mean,
keep rewinding it.
Yeah, but what an absolute bully of a player as well. Like, I mean, Carragher never got knocked around a lot, but I remember some games, Christ, he'd have him all over the place. It was just a hammer. He's one of them players that, because of his strength, his pace, how good he was in the air, dead balls, he's just a nightmare to play against for any defender. I'm glad he's in this top 5 because I actually think he deserves that spot 100%.
I think as well, boys, that he really promoted like African football as well.
Yeah.
That a player like that could come out of that caliber.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I think also the charity stuff he does, Tony, as well. I think he's built numerous schools, hasn't he, in hospitals and all that. So that sort of shows that the type of person he was. He obviously earned very good money, but he's repaying it from the place he used to live and this, that, and the other.
You could call him Mr. Drogba then, couldn't you?
Yeah. He deserves Mr., doesn't he, for that?
I say a lot of African players are like that. I like that about the African lads. They seem to always give back to where they come from, which is good to see. So we're going to move on to probably the most controversial player in this list. Let's steer clear of the political stuff, because I'm sure I can speak on behalf of all of us when we don't really condone what happened. And I'd rather not spend time talking about the drib. Let's talk about the quality as a player.
Dribbles. So, let's talk about the dribbles rather than the drib.
Yes. So the next player is Luis Suarez. 70 goals in 110 games. Oh, sorry, 69 goals in 110 games for Liverpool. So we'll go.
That's where you keep going wrong, Stu. You keep going for a 70 instead of a 69.
So, Tony, you can kick us off.
Yeah. There's a lot of, different emotions towards Luis Suarez, but let's judge him on his football ability. He was an absolute maverick for Liverpool. I think that my mate, season ticket at Liverpool, because he goes to the games.
Proper fan.
Yeah,
he said he's the best player he's seen at Anfield, including Steven Gerrard. Obviously, Kenny's a bit before his time, but he just said he did things that nobody had ever seen at Anfield before. I think he kept scoring hat-tricks and absolute worldies against Norwich, didn't he?
Yeah, Norwich.
And I think he scored from just inside the halfway line and stuff like that. You know, similar to kind of a mix of all the other players that we've spoke about. Obviously, there's a nastiness there, but there's a real pedigree of talent. You know, and you know what he had? He had a real kind of drive on him that kept him upright, even for all the diving. You know, because he did get chopped a lot because of the kind of player he was. He entices a lot of aggressive challenges. But in saying that, he just had a kind of a center of gravity that just kind of kept him upright. He just bounced off players and momentum. He had a momentum that just kept him going, especially in the box. I think he won quite a few penalties because of that. Yeah,
he did. Craig?
Yeah. One of his main assets, I think that helped, obviously, Liverpool, apart from the scoring goals, the way he worked as a team player as well. He worked, when I used to watch him play, he was all over the pitch. I think coming at the time he did, I think football was changing, and it was more about closing down and working hard, and especially for a foreign player from like Suarez was from obviously playing for Uruguay. And I just think he had that English sort of mentality as well as a team player. But some of the, like Tony said, some of the goals you used to see him score, you used to think, wow, he was fantastic. All different types of goal. He had a bit of pace. He could hold the ball up. I remember quite a lot of the times he used to try and make the centre halves or the defenders against him and try and little run around and try and score. And he was just a fantastic player. He could do everything. Play as a number 9, play as a 10, could play out wide and drop inside and get shots off. Like you said, yeah, the controversial stuff, obviously, we won't talk about. But yeah, he's, I think, obviously, he played less games than obviously all the other strikers. But what an impact he had for Liverpool. And
you know, was it the World Cup? Did he save the ball on the line and get sent off?
Yeah. I think it was against Ghana. I think it was against Ghana.
Something like that. And I know that, you know, this is not picking at him. That's showing doing whatever it takes to win.
Yeah.
Ghana missed a penalty as well.
He did that. He got him through.
I thought it did.
And it's very easy for a spectator or a fan to kind of look on and say, that's disgusting. It's cheating the moral fibre of the game. But these players do whatever it takes to win. And also, it's a winning mentality, and it's a different level. And if you're behind that player, you know, it's a lot easier to support. So somebody looking against it, but as you know, somebody who likes to win myself, and as I usually do in these arguments, you know, it's just I think you've got to kind of put that mentality in him because you know, he is a winner.
Yeah. And even for Uruguay with Cavani, obviously, who's doing really well in the Premiership. What a combination them two were for Uruguay. So I think overall, I think he deserves to be in the top 5. Yes, people will look at other stuff, but just on footballing ability, I think he deserves to be in there. And one thing, I wish he would have stayed in the Premiership longer, just so I could see him for longer and see if he could carry on.
Like when Arsenal
how good it was.
A pound over his
Yeah.
Right, we'll move on to Thierry. Will we? Heck.
I was going to go. Ain't you having an opinion, Stu?
It was me that obviously really pushed for Luis Suarez to be in this 5. But it's nice to see that you both welcome that. As Tony said before with his friend, obviously I'm not a season ticket holder. I don't know if we've touched on that, but
did you ever watch him live, Stu?
No. But in my lifetime,
avoid this.
So I was born in 82, and so I started really watching football from about 9. Can I speak? So from about 91 onwards, that's when I started watching football at a point where I knew what was going on. And in my lifetime, Luis Suarez is the best player I've ever seen at Liverpool. And that's hard to say that because of Steven Gerrard, but on just it was just incredible. I mean, I know it's nearly, but he nearly won us that league on his own in that last season. He was at Anfield, and what he could do in I always sort of think of Sergio Ramos when I think of Suarez, in the sense of hard to like, but would you want him on your team? Yes, every day of the week. And when you've got someone like that, and his work ethic up the top gave everyone else behind him no option but to work at that level. You know, he didn't let anyone have an easy time. And that's what
from the front.
Yeah, it was just the most extraordinary work rate. I mean, I thought I'd struggle to find someone that worked as hard as Dirk Kuyt did when he was at Liverpool, because he was an absolute grafter. But Suarez was just, for such a time, you usually see players like Neymar or other players of that ilk that don't have that ethic to go with it, the work ethic, but he did. And God, did he light up the Premier League. As we said, sometimes not in the right way, but his on football ability alone. And then obviously got to Barcelona and doing what he did there with Messi and for his country. Yeah, he has to be. It's a tough one. I'll tell you this now, it's a tough one for me when we come to the end decision. But yeah, that's Luis Suarez. Right, moving on to final one, Thierry Henry. 174 Premiership goals in 254 games. Pretty special. So, Tony, Thierry Henry.
74 assists as well, Stu, just so you know as well.
So why didn't you say that for the others?
Just because I just wanted to point that out now.
I think we know who's going to be your number one, don't we? Right then, Tony.
Yeah, I think that, you know, the stats and the records and, you know, history kind of represents Thierry Henry in a nutshell. Just, you know, probably one of the best foreign imports ever, if not the best import. I always kind of think of him though as a more of a wider player coming in. You know, I don't know why that is. I don't know whether it's because of his early days at Juventus and Monaco, and then, you know, his early days at Arsenal. But, you know, did he win like 4 golden boots or something like that when he came to Arsenal eventually?
Yeah.
Something like that. You know, his stats are incredible. And he did score goals, every single kind of goal. You can, you know, heads in the box, out of the box, you know, cutting in, cutting out, wherever. Just a great, great football. I don't know that the Irish aren't too keen on him because he can score with handballs as well. But, you know, he was just a magician. A very different player to the first 4 that we've mentioned there. But, you know, just he was an absolute world-class player.
Yeah. Craig?
Not much to say on that, really. Yes.
Take your hands out your pants, please.
Jealousy, eh? I just think he transformed the Arsenal team. Once he got into that team, that's when Arsenal started to start getting the results they did under Wenger. Like Tony said, could do anything really. Players are number 9, players are number 10, play right wing, left wing. He could play anywhere, and what a player he was. Scored some fantastic goals.
Still drove a Renault Clio.
I know, yeah. yeah. I was going to do that, but I thought I'd let you do it. There you go. But yeah, he was, and obviously, like, the stats back it up, and what he's done since he left Arsenal. What a fantastic player, and another one that you can just.
I'm going to get you a T-shirt with "fantastic player" written on it.
Oh,
Mr. Fantastic Player.
The stats don't lie, do they? You know
they don't.
And for me, which we'll find out soon, that he's going to be very close to my top pick. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say about him? He's one of them players that makes you smile when you watched him play football. He had this. It's hard to be arrogant but likable, and he had that kind of arrogance that was likable. No. Yeah, fair one. And I think what Tony's saying about trying to find it hard, you know, trying to pinpoint him as a striker, it is kind of hard because he had the license to do whatever he wanted at Arsenal. He'd pick up positions deep right, deep left. How many goals did he score when he dropped deep, picked the ball up, turned and ran from there? I mean, that goal against Tottenham. Jeez,
yeah, fantastic.
Christ. Yeah. And is it that one against West Ham where he turned, chested it, kneed it and volleyed it? I mean, it was just a joy to watch, wasn't he? And, you know, it's going to be very hard. Well, it's going to be impossible to keep him at the top 3 of anyone's team, I think, but we don't know. But yeah, what an absolute fantastic footballer. And, you know, just some of that goal against United, that swivel, and yeah, just an absolute joy to watch. And, you know, it was certainly the Premiership's lost when he left. So, okay. So, boys, thank you for our quick, well, it wasn't that quick, was it? But our brief analysis on 5 fantastic players. We've come down to the point now where we have to put them in our top 3s. So we'll start with in third position. And Tony, who is third on your all-time Premiership best striker foreign players list?
Thierry Henry.
Oh, shock horror.
He's not a centre forward for me. I know his stats are absolutely ridiculous. He's just not a centre forward.
I wonder who your number 1's going to be. I wonder who it is.
Well, we'll see, won't we? But that's Thierry Henry in third place. Third place for Tony. Okay, Craig, who's third for you?
Didier Drogba.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Well, fair enough. We wouldn't have much of a podcast if that was the same answer every time. Okay, in my third position, I'm going for Sergio Aguero. I just think it's very hard to leave someone out who's had the longevity in it and scored the goals he has. So for me, in third place, Sergio Aguero. Okay, Tony, who's in second place for you?
Ruud Van Nisteroy.
Wow, Ruud Van Nisteroy. I think that's probably surprised Craig. I'm not sure.
A little bit.
Craig, who is in second place for you?
Sergio Aguero for me. What a striker, as we spoke about. Just scored goals for fun, and like you said, longevity at Man City, and the massive difference he made to that football club. So number 2, second best striker is Sergio Aguero for me.
Okay. Now, I honestly, this was so hard for me because I don't want to come across biased, and I don't want to come across like I'm disrespectful. But I've honestly known about this episode for a week, and I've been tossing and turning between the two. However, in my second place is going to be Luis Suarez. I tried to just make a sensible decision on who I think did more in the time in the Premiership, and with him winning the league with Arsenal and the FA Cup and getting his team over the line, even though he played in a better team than who, yeah. So Luis Suarez is my number 2, but he's so close to being my number 1. So Tony, who's number 1 on your list?
Luis Suarez, no chance. I'm going to go with Aguero. He did give me one of the worst days of my life with food poisoning and ripping my shorts, and then scoring that last minute goal. But he is a box, 18-yard box striker. He is a centre forward. Has the edge on Ruud with the longevity of anything. So, listen, as we've just alluded to, it'd be sad to see him go if he goes somewhere else. It'd be interesting if he can still cut the mustard at Barca. But time will tell. But we've got to reflect on an amazing player, and in my opinion, the best foreign striker in the Premier League. Okay. Craig. That's killed me.
You look a bit deflated, mate.
I'm going to call this man Mr. Thierry Henry. Just a fantastic footballer. Stats back it up. The way he played, how good he was in the Premiership, how good he was for France, how good he was after he left the Premiership as well. So he's just been a fantastic world-class striker. And like I said, a bit like Aguero, he transformed that Arsenal team when he came into the Premiership, and he's just my number 1 by quite a way. So, okay. Yeah, Thierry Henry.
My number 1 is Thierry Henry. I think the reason I came to that decision is basically based on the fact that, in my opinion, there's 2 absolute, what's the right word I'm looking for? 2 players in Premiership history that went into the stratosphere for me, and Cristiano Ronaldo is one, and Thierry Henry is the other. I just think you're talking about number 1 or 2 best ever players in Premier League history, and therefore that's why he's my number 1. But I rate Luis Suarez that highly that it was touch and go. So anyway, Tony, remind me.
Luis Suarez just at the bottom of that screen. Is his head bopping up?
Yeah. So Tony, who is your top 3 once again, please?
Yeah, Thierry Henry third, Ruud Van Nisteroy second, and Sergio Aguero in the top spot.
Craig.
Didier Drogba, number 3. Sergio Aguero, number 2. And then Mr. Thierry Henry, number 1.
And mine is Sergio Aguero 3, Luis Suarez 2nd, and Thierry Henry 1st. Right, chaps, thank you for joining me. I wonder what the people will make of that selection. It could set the cat amongst the pigeons, who knows? But anyway, that concludes our 3-week stint all about foreign Premiership players. If you're enjoying these episodes, by all means, please subscribe to the Lancashire Lad podcast. The more interaction, the better. So if you disagree with us, you want to put your top 3 below, please do. It's all good fun. And, we're up for a bit of abuse if it's put in the right way. So, lads, thank you for joining me. And I will see you again with a brand new topic to discuss next week.
Cheers, Stu.
See you later, boys.
See you later.
Bye, Tony. See you later.
Bye-bye.